minds and gentle hearts. The time has come to part. The jig is up now, so lay me down.
Welcome everyone to a bonus episode of Coaching in Session. And today we're going to be bringing on Dina Marais, and she's going to be helping us with our spirituality, getting in more balance, because we have a great conversation ahead. And we're talking about, well, what is really going on? Because if we're feeling like we're inadequate, if we're feeling like we're stuck, what is that feeling? Yeah, it could be a little bit of mindset, but there's something deeper. And yes, I do some of that work too, where we're looking at, all right, how can I become more balanced? But what Dina does is she goes deep down, and she has programs and she has methods that help people to get more in balance, to help their soul become aligned, and just thinking about how we can become more happy in our life, where it's not so much, well, who can make us happy, but what do I need to do for that happiness to come to me? So let's get into that interview with Dina and myself.
Oh, Susanna, don't cry for me. We had some good years, so
Welcome, Dina Marais, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
Oh, hi, Michael. I'm doing very well. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. I love to have other people on who have an abundance of wisdom, but abundance of knowledge, who help people, coach people to a better type of mindset. Can you please give an introduction of yourself and tell the world what you do and how you help?
I am the founder of Self-Purpose Publishing and Coaching. And in coaching, my specialty is soul alignment. I'm a quantum leap transformation coach, and I help people to vibrationally align with what they want to create in the world, what they want to manifest, and to help them to transcend all their self-sabotaging patterns, and so that they energetically can align with what it is they would like to create, in a nutshell.
The idea of aligning our soul, is that something that someone can just do without knowing, or would they have to have like a coach or a guide to kind of help them get to that place in life where they can align their soul?
It's really more about aligning to your soul essence, or aligning with your soul essence. You don't necessarily need a coach, or but it will help you to do that faster. Because we have blind spots, because we see the world as we are. And it's the point of that is really, or the role of the coach would be really to open up your awareness, to see the things that you won't see.
Definitely. And I think coaching is so valuable, number one, because having someone on your side and your corner to help you get to some place in life is going to get you into a better state of mind quicker. Because if you're going through a hard patch of your life, it's better to go through it with a friend than do it by yourself. And one of the things that many people ignore is their inner self, right? Their soul self. They just kind of worry about their physical body. They look in the mirror and they say, oh, I'm too fat. I'm too, this, or I'm too that. I don't have enough material goods. So they worry so much about the external aspect of themselves, but they don't look so much on the inside, whether it be in their heart, their soul, or in their mind. What would be some steps that people could start, maybe today, maybe in the future if they're not ready today, how to connect to their soul on a deeper level?
The first step to any of this is self-awareness. When we start to observe ourselves. And I think that is so important to realize that we are the creator of our world. There is absolutely nothing outside of you that is creating your circumstances but you. It's only us. We do it. We create everything. And the most valuable thing for people to understand is how they are doing it. How am I creating my world? And I always call it the supply chain of the mind. we think, we feel, we act, and there's a result. And that's how we create it. So if we want to change the result, we're not going to change what comes at us, how we think about it, so that we can feel differently, so that we can act differently, and then get a different result.
Mm-hmm. You said something about we are the supply chain. I love that idea, that concept, the supply chain. Right now, we're living in a world where the supply chain is damaged. Not only our physical supply chain, where if you go to the store, you might be missing some goods. That's because of the whole quarantine, the lockdown. So we're trying to repair, we're trying to recover. But then we also have that aspect of our supply chain, our personal supply chain being damaged, where we're not connected with our relationships around us, whether it be our friends, families, spouses, partners, whoever, right? We are not necessarily meeting up with that supply chain demand. So we might feel empty, right? And I'm sure you might get this a lot. Like, I just feel empty. I feel stuck, right? What is that called, right? I feel stuck. Is that something to do with the soul, or is that something to do with maybe a different area of their life?
That's something to do with our misalignment with our soul. Is we are so in our own world, in our human self, that we feel disconnected. And when we feel disconnected, we can really feel it in our bodies that, there's something missing. And when we have that connection, we immediately feel connected. We immediately can feel that I'm not alone. And I think that is important to realize, is that we have been conditioned to believe that we are separate. We've been conditioned to believe that we are powerless. We've been conditioned to believe that we're not good enough. We have been conditioned to think we are not worthy. We are small, cannot do stuff. We don't have the power to change our lives. We just have to sort of take it as it comes. It happens to us. And that is the first awareness, is to realize that we have all the power that we were born with. And that is our thoughts and our emotions that we create the world with. Nothing man-made in this world has ever manifested without somebody first thinking about it. That is the womb of creation, is our thoughts, our ideas. And that is the wealth as well that we have. So often we look for external, even people in our relationships, we look for people to make us happy. It's an inside job. You've got to make yourself happy. You've got to lift yourself up. It's nobody's responsibility to make you happy. It's only your own. And it's also not your responsibility to make someone else happy. We all have our own powers. We are all born with that. And yet we are all connected to each other. I love to say that we are all here to benefit from each other's geniuses. That's why we all have different talents and different gifts. Because here we are to help each other. We are manifesting through other people as well. So in other words, you might need you want a client, or and that client is a person. You want to get a car. You've got to have a vision of that car. You've got to feel it. You've got to see it yourself driving it. And then you get the car. Somebody sells it to you. So it comes to us through people. But the main thing that we must really be aware of is that it starts with us. We have all received the powers of creation. And we have, unfortunately, most people have been conditioned to use it the wrong way. We've been conditioned to use it in a way that does not serve us, that keep us small, that keep us stuck. And if we can just see the powers, they are not, and I think this is the next important thing, is that you are not your thoughts. You have thoughts. You're not your emotions. Not because you feel something, it means it's true. Don't believe everything that you think. We live in a thought universe. There's lots of thought energy going around. You have to choose what you believe in. You have to choose how you feel about something in order to actually become aware of it, so that you can make it another choice.
Mhm.
When we are born, we are like an open sponge, and we just absorb. And we absorb everything around us, from our parents, the people around us, our culture. And I call it the faulty blueprint.
Mhm.
And then we take that with us, and we think it's us. But we are not that. We are not our past, our history, or anything. We are much more than that. It's important to see yourself first as an unconditional, valuable being. We are actually really spiritual beings having a human experience. And we're finding our way home. And the way to do that is through that self-awareness, where we become aware of, I'm more than that. I can actually watch myself. I can actually become aware and see myself, how I'm responding. And I can choose to respond differently.
Mhm.
Before I just talk all the time.
No, that was really
Take a
good.
breath.
No, yeah, no, that was really good. And what I was just thinking about, it's like maybe 100 years, maybe past 200 years, society has started to evolve in a different manner, where we started to get away from that soul connection. We started to get away from that idea of working with other people, where, the sense of community, because we have become so independent as a society and as a world, where we can do things by ourselves. We don't necessarily understand the idea of the importance of other people helping us live in our life. Thinking about going to the grocery store, that tomato that you want to buy, someone grew that for you to purchase that. If you wanted to get a car, someone put their hands on that metal and created that vehicle for you to purchase. It wasn't just you saying, I want a car, and you create that. There's someone else who has a hand in that creation. And somewhere in our development, we forgot the importance of people, and we started to look only about we are important. And then that turned into I'm entitled, that my feelings are going to matter. I understand you have feelings too, but my feelings matter. And then we talk about, I want to be happy. You don't make me happy. So we worry about that. But then we have to understand that happiness is something that we have to do. Just like you said, we have to do that. That's a thought that we have to understand and we have to recognize. But we're living it opposite almost now. I'm looking for someone to make me happy. I'm looking for something to make me happy. So we switched almost. In a world right now, we have all this technology, a smartphone. It is so powerful. You can connect with anyone around the world with a click of a button. And yet we are vying for connection. We are never in a time in our life that we have been so connected that we feel so unconnected. Do you think technology is helping us in the sense of becoming spiritually bound with ourselves? Or do you think it's going to be one of those things that are going to be taking us away from that path of balance and connection?
You are so right in what you're saying, Michael. And again, it's all part of the whole conditioning thing. We have been really conditioned into, slowly but surely, become so dependent on technology, on our phone, on our computer, that if you go to a restaurant, you see the whole family around the table are sitting with their phones. They're not talking. We have been so indoctrinated to just talk to this damn thing in our hand. And you are so right that we feel more alone than ever, because we find that this device in our hand is going to give us everything that we need.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the furthest thing from the truth. There is absolutely nothing like personal human to human connection. That is to be treasured. and even in our relationships around us, and venturing out to go and meet people. Leave the phone home. Actually, every family should make a rule. If we go out somewhere or around the dinner table, or no phones, absolutely no phones, because we need to talk to each other. We have actually unlearned that. We find our likes on social media, and that is a roller coaster ride, because the one day you're up there and the next day you're down in the dumps because somebody didn't like you. So we become dependent again on external things to make us happy. We get defined, we get identified with the external world to determine our thoughts and our emotions, and thereby our results. Because if we don't have that internal authority through the soul connection to decide for ourselves what is good, what is my opinion, what do I think about this, how do I feel about taking the action now to do whatever, is that we are relying on other people's opinions. We are relying on the external world, somebody to give us validation, to say, it's okay, you can go ahead. So we have distanced ourselves from our own authority as a being, as a person. And we have put up, basically, really literally giving our power away to someone else, to the external world, to control our thoughts and emotions of what we are allowed to feel, what gives us permission to think about ourselves in a way that makes us feel good. We depend on other people to tell us, you're okay and you can feel good. And that is something that we need to claim back. I have actually a neurological process to do that, to claim back our inner authority, our divine authority, from where we make our decisions and our choices, and not in this mode of victim and people pleasing, and not actually feeling any importance to make our own decisions. Mm. You said earlier about, I suppose that's a continuum where on the one side you think, I'm only important, it's only I that am important, it's only my way or the highway, it's only my opinion that counts, everybody else is wrong, I'm always right. That's the one extreme. The other extreme is, I'm not important at all. Mm. I don't count. In my family, I don't count. Whatever I say is ignored. I don't have rights. I don't have the right to say what I want. I must accept what is given to me. And to a large extent, big population is there, where we just accept what is given to us. We don't have critical thinking anymore to think, is this right for me? Does this work for me? Does this serve me? And if I don't like something, and if I don't feel good about something, is this true? Or can I change my own attitude about it? Mm-hmm. So that I can think and feel different about this. I always love to give this example of just how we make meaning and how we can change that, and how that can change our results. Is if you drive somewhere in your car and someone cuts in front of you, what emotion is evoked? Now, if it's anger, then what will happen is your thought process, this is the supply chain of the mind. You think, how dare you? That is so disrespectful. And then the emotion is anger, and then how do you act? You on the hooter, or you show the finger, or you shout. And of course, that energy of yours is going through to the other person, because everything is connected. And that person now also show you the finger, shout back, wave you off. That makes you even more mad. And of course, the end result can be road rage. It can be an accident. It can be anything, because of the meaning you gave to the trigger of someone driving in front of you. Mm-hmm. Now, another way of looking at this is you drive in your car and somebody cuts in front of you, and you think, shame, man. He must be late. Come in. You say, that's okay. And then your energy again exudes, radiates. Other person says, oh, thank you. And you feel great. You did a wonderful act of kindness. That's the difference. Simple example, but that's how we do everything. How we respond to things. And that response, that reaction is most probably, if it doesn't serve you, coming from childhood, watching other people, how they responded to certain situations. And then we take that on. And unless we start to challenge those things, we'll happily carry on. That will become our destiny.
Mm-hmm. You said so many things there. So I'm going to have to unpack all those wonderful things you said. So many good things there. First thing, parents, guardians, if you have children growing up, the dinner table should be a place for community to build relationships. That's why many parents are having difficult times with their children, because they don't choose to connect to them when they're able to connect with them on the drive home from school, rather than allowing them on their phones. Talk to them, or at the dinner table, talk to them. You don't have to have your cell phone. You don't have to be watching the game. The game's going to be there after you're done eating with your family. And it's going to be the scheme of 15 to 30 minutes, maybe. If you're a slower eater, maybe an hour. But that time is going to be worth it in the end. That's something that you're going to appreciate rather than regret. If you are going to keep going down the path where, all right, I'm just going to allow my phone to get in the way of me and my family, eventually one day you're not going to have either. And the one thing you're going to want more so than your cell phone is that family bond. So when the kids are all grown up and they move on, there's a reason why they don't come back. There's a reason why they will put you in a nursing home rather than take care of their parent. Because now they're just so worried about growing up and handling their own business, doing their own thing, raising their own children, that they can't worry about mom or dad anymore, or grandma or grandpa. Society or culture has made that shift. And there's small things that we can do. Making time available for that conversation. Here in my household, there's no phones at the table. There's no iPads at the table. There's no electronics at the table. When it's time to eat, we're eating. If you don't want to talk, you don't have to talk. But the floor is open. The space is open. And I'm always talking, whether it be just about what the day is, what the future is, talking about something. And then you can put your 2 cents and we can have a conversation. That creates a bond, right? So I'm connecting with my family on a spiritual level too. It's not so much of, all right, I talked to them at the dinner table, check mark on my box. I'm looking for something there. I'm not just doing it because it's the right thing to do. I'm doing it because it helps fulfill me on a deeper level than going on my phone for 5-10 minutes. That doesn't fulfill me. That doesn't recharge me. And you're going to notice eventually that your batteries are low. And then you're going to wonder, like, how can I recharge myself? And yes, you can always start that communication, but we have to make sure it's not too late, because when they're all grown up and they're gone, it's going to be more difficult to get them back. So when we start young and we say, hey, this is what a family is. We talk at dinner. When we're in the car, we talk on the way home. We talk out our problems. We talk about our feelings. We talk about what we would like to do, right? And that is going to create that person on the inside, our inner self. And it's going to allow us to start to think more in a growth mindset, because you have a supporter. You only need one person to believe in yourself. But if you have a family, you have multiple people who are going to come together and help you. Now, if you're past that and you don't know where to begin, then of course, like getting a spiritual coach, getting a coach to help you along that path to change that way of thinking, that's going to be almost a necessity. Not saying you can't do it by yourself. It's just it's a lot more difficult to rewire what you have learned in your environment growing up and what society shows you. So there's much more than just saying, hey, I have to put my smartphone down. There's much more than that, because yeah, that is the problem that's going to stop the bleeding. But now we have to deal with the wound. How do we deal with that wound? And I think this is the perfect segment to talk about your book. And the name of your book is My Mess is My Message, and how that relates to everything that's going on. Because sometimes our life can get messy, where I'm like, man, I have this problem, I have that problem, I'm worried about this stress, and it's so much mess. And what typically tends to happen with people is many people ignore that mess. They say, you know what, I'm just not going to deal with it today. I'm not going to deal with it tomorrow. I'm just, I already dealt with this for so long and I'm just tired, right? If we can we unpack the idea of my mess is my message?
So true what you said now. Two things are important here about my mess is my message. Is number one, is that behind our messes is our blessings, whether we want to believe it or not, but it's happening for us. The mess is happening for us so that we can get to that place where we can open up and we can receive something bigger and something better. And the other thing that goes in hand with this is what Albert Einstein said. He said, you cannot change a problem from the same way of thinking that created it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we stay in the same kind of looping about the problem, and that's why we talked about earlier about having a coach, then if you find that you're doing that, then it's so important to get a coach to show you, to mirror that back to you. Because we don't realize it ourselves, because we have blind spots. We fall into the same thinking patterns and we loop this thing. And we try and think it from all different angles, but still from the same level of mind. We need to look at it from another level of mind. And that is what happens in the book through all the stories that we shared, is that once people took responsibility and not waiting for the savior of some sort, of some form, to come and help them out of this mess, but taking charge of it and look at it and say, what is this mess? What is it about? And how can I change myself so that I can change the mess? Mm. I love what Wayne Dyer always said. He said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that is true for every story in the book. And it's an amazing book. I wrote my story about the way that I grew up with in violence and scarcity and fear. Grew up with the fear of not having money. Not having money meant death. And how that ran my life, that fear of scarcity. And only when I started working on myself and started to realize how I was thinking about everything, that was actually the catalyst that kept me where I was. And that's a big one for people, is there's a whole range of thinking that keeps us in victim mode. And one that was a big one for me is what we call away from thinking. So we have this goal, we want this this idea of what we want to achieve, whether that may be whatever, whether it's money or business or having something like a car or a home or whatever. And we have this image of what we want, but our thoughts are controlled by the external world, by our senses of what we can see and hear. So although we have the idea, we keep on looking at that idea from the place that it's not there yet. So always see that it's not there yet. And your subconscious mind then keeps it that it's not there yet. And that is because that is the emotion that you create. The moment you think about it's not there, that moment you feel disappointed or fear or frustration or dissatisfaction, that's a very low vibration emotion. And from that low vibration, you cannot create something new. You got to step, I always show it like this. Where you are is here in the way that you think, feel, and act. is a reality. It's a vibrational reality. Where you want to be is here. This is where your vision is, that you like to create. You've got to step up. You've got to meet the vibration of your vision with from how you think, feel, and act, to be in the harmony with that. The universal law says, whatever you want, you got to first become that before you can attract it. And so you've got to live here in this vibration. You've got to lift yourself up through the way that you think, feel, and act, so that you can attract that to you, because we attract to us according to our vibration. We don't attract to us what we want. We attract to us who we are or what we are. And that means your energy attracts to you experiences that matches your energy. And if you want to get over your mess, you've got to first have a vision. What does it look like on the other side of this mess? Is that what I want? Yes. Who do I need to become to actually attract that? And that means to renounce the mess that you are in. So that's not me anymore. And to catch yourself, that's where the self-awareness comes in again. That's where you catch yourself, observe yourself. How am I behaving in this old way still? When do I feel? Unfortunately, we've been given the gift of how we feel. Our emotions is our barometer for how we feel. And that tells us, if we feel a lower vibration, a negative emotion, that we are out of alignment with who we are, who we really are, our true self and our vision. And then that is to look at that and say, what is that about? What am I thinking when I'm feeling like this? Is that true? Does that serve me? How can I look at this differently? Because the triggers of the mess doesn't change. They don't change. You got to change your relationship to the trigger to lose its power over you. And it's exactly as in that example of driving your car. The trigger is cutting in front of you. The trigger is somebody rolling their eyes at you. The trigger is somebody shouting at you, having a tone of voice that rubs you the wrong way. It's how you look at that. And most of all, what's important about that is that we are in control. We're not in control of the triggers, but we are in control of how we respond. We can choose how we respond. And we can choose for other people to not affect, not press our buttons, because we are the button makers, not them. Whatever they say to us, whatever someone says to you, it's about them. It's not about you. How you interpret that, that comes from you. So there's no blaming to say, you make me mad. I make myself mad of what I thought about what you said to me. So I think I veered now totally from the book.
No, that's exactly the book. That's exactly the book. When I was in the messiest areas of my life, I would look for a book like yours, where I would look for the answers. I will look for a deeper understanding of what I was feeling, my emotions. And there's many books out there, but the way you represent, or the way you say what that mess is, it seems like it would help people get into a better alignment and help them look at their emotions and their feelings and what happened to them, and then choose at that point, are we going to allow this emotion to define who we are, or are we going to be in control of that trigger per se, and then we are going to think how we would like to think. And it's so difficult, especially in traumas in our life, where we have a trauma and we're just thinking about how our life sucks. Life is so hard. And that's the mess. That's the mess, where our mind is not thinking in a more vibrant type of level, right? Where we're thinking at the higher level or the higher frequency. We're thinking at a lower frequency. And that makes it difficult to wake up in the morning. It makes it difficult to show up in our days. It makes us heavy per se. And then we don't move. So we stay there. So yeah, that mess is the message, because it's saying you have this life right now and you have all of these problems that you gave yourself or that you're thinking about, you're ruminating upon. What do you do with them? That is so powerful, because if we can understand what we do with these problems or these emotions, that only is going to elevate us to the next level, because where we are right now doesn't have to be our destiny. We can make the changes for something better. Sometimes people get into the mindset that my current circumstance is my destiny, and they don't think they can change. And for me, when I was stuck in a messy area, I had to look at that mess. I had to look at all those bad things I wanted to ignore as much as possible. And I had to say, I have to deal with this. So when I was picking up the pieces of my life, all this mess, I found my purpose. I found what I wanted to do. So it's kind of like there's a message inside of us, and we just toss it with all the other rubbish that is life. But what we do have to do is take out the trash, take out that rubbish, and we have to say, okay, what can I make out of this? Versus, this is something bad in my life. This mess is not helpful. Similar to how you said about driving, I can be angry or I can be understanding. We have to be understanding when it comes to ourselves. No one's going to come out unscathed. Everyone has an opportunity to have a problem, right? But does that problem run your life, or do you say, okay, I'm going to figure out a solution? There's always going to be a solution. Sometimes it requires a lot of work, and we have to get to that work. And I know it scares people to want to get a solution because they feel like they have to do it by themselves. And that's so far from the truth, because you can get someone like Dina and they can help you, and they can help you along that path or that cleanup per se of who you are, who you became, and we can tidy you up. Not so much to say you're broken or that you're dirty, but to help you get to a better way of thinking. Because if you're feeling unstuck, if you're feeling unfulfilled, it's a good chance that your life is pretty messy at this point in time. And to have someone like Dina along for that journey to help you go through that process of change, that's going to be powerful. And I know many people who are listening to this are going to have that type of circumstance right now, or they're going to be able to think back on a time they had this type of circumstance where their life was in ruin and shambles, and they didn't know left from right, and they were looking for a way out and they didn't know how. Well, I think Dina found it, not only through her book, but through her message, and then through her work that she does. So Dina, if you can, please give us a few last words, and then please tell people where they can find you.
I want to leave everyone with this message, is that you are more, much more than you think you are. You really, truly have everything inside you to create the most amazing life of what you desire. Absolutely. I believe that with all my heart. I believe we all in this world, in this universe, have got the same powers. We just need to know how to use them. And we all can do it. Anyone can do it. We can all do it. We all receive the same. Yeah, and I wanted just a last point for the parents as well. So I think one of the best gifts you can give your kids is to let them know that they are unconditionally valuable. Doesn't matter what their achievements are or not are, just they are just perfect as they are. And the second thing is to have fun teaching your kids critical thinking. That's why it's so lovely to have a discussion around the dinner table and around any topic, and if everyone voice their ideas around that. We get to know our kids in that way, how they think, and it's not for us to correct them or to tell them that their ideas are wrong, but it's rather to ask questions and understanding. If we can have the intention of understanding and get to know each other, that is so precious. That is where memories are made, that kids carry with them their whole lives, and think how they used to chat around the dinner table with mom and dad. The good thing is about the book, Michael, is that we are having a summit where it's a free summit where all the authors and some other people are getting together from the 6th till the 10th of June, and come and listen, because we are doing interviews with every author to dive deeper into their story of what they shared in the book and tips for everyone. So I think that is important. And of course, to get hold of me, the best, I've got an ebook called Cultivate Soul Alignment. And I don't know if you put the links on the page, or can I say the links?
I will put all of your links in information in the description box, so everyone will find it just below.
Okay, awesome. So it's the ebook Cultivate Soul Alignment that is free, to put everything into perspective of what I talked about now, as well as the My Message Summit.
Perfect.
That is coming up.
Thank you so much. So much words of wisdom, so insightful. I know just speaking with you today, it's been definitely something to help balance me, because life can get so busy, but when you can slow down and pay attention to the things you do, how you act, and then how you feel, then things can start to catch up, because we're living in a very fast-paced world. And if we can slow things down so our life can catch back up, then we can make sure that we don't become unaligned or unbalanced again. So I encourage everyone to check out Dina Marais' book. Do you have a website? Yeah, like a website people can go to, or LinkedIn or social media?
Yes, it's all there. DinaMarais.com.
Perfect. So we're going to have all of those links in the description box below. So I encourage people to go to her website, check out the ebook, and then the summit that's coming up. And you're going to be able to find balance and create meaning in your life. Everyone, Dina Marais.
Out on the Bowery was the very end. Dear friends and gentle hearts, the time has come